Today, my featured guest is Terri Burnett. She has led an advertising sales team for a major cable company, served on a church ministry staff, founded three nonprofits, and helped many women start their own nonprofits. Now, she's the founder and executive director of the Women's Nonprofit Alliance, providing back office support for frontline women. She helps women become more confident and competent in their calling by keeping them on mission. Now, Terri uses her experience and acquired knowledge to coach women to lead thriving organizations. She's a certified trainer specializing in board development, strategic planning, and developing a fully invested team. A repeat guest panelist for Dallas Theological Seminary, Terri has also presented for conferences such as Life's Way You Lead, Arise, Ministries Survive and Thrive, and many more. So you can find her at womensnpa.org, womensnpa.org. Terri, welcome to Broken Catholic, the #1 podcast on iTunes for Protestants and Catholics. Who knew we could get along? It's fantastic. Go ahead and fill in some of the gaps in that intro, would you?
Wow. Okay. Yes. So first of all, thanks, Joseph, for having me. It's an honor, and listening to your past podcasts, I'm in good company, and I just think that that's awesome what you're doing. The filling in the blanks, I started out in the business world, and what little known fact, I guess, probably from those who know me in the nonprofit world, is that I actually, my first passion and job was in fashion. I graduated from the Fashion and Art Institute of Dallas, which is now just the Art Institute of Dallas, with a merchandising degree. Started out on the floor, sales floor, worked my way up to a buyer in a department store in Austin, Texas, and was there for, in my early 20s, buying, traveling, going to markets in other states, New York, and countries, and just a really exciting job for someone my age. And it was a dream realized at an early age. But then things changed, and I will add, at that point, I was not following God, and had a very active party life, which caught up with me very fast, and it crashed and burned at an early place in my career. So then started back, got married, things changed, found God. That was the biggest thing that changed in my life. Got in the business world, into sales and marketing, and that stayed there for a while, then raised my children. So I have 3 boys, and became a stay-at-home mom for quite a while. And then when I was re-entering back into work life, I was approached by our church to help out and to become on staff there. And it was a church that, in the denomination I was in, it didn't hire a lot of women in directors roles or in pastoral roles, and didn't give the title of pastor, which is fine. But I did have a director's role in the church, and had a seat at the table, got to make some decisions with the pastors. They heard my voice. It was a great relationship there. Very positive experience working for the church. And one of my things I was over was women's ministry. Loved that. Used my business sense and business experience to lead in that role. But I noticed that a lot of women didn't have that experience, and didn't have business skills. They were in the church serving mainly because they had the time and the passion, but not really the business sense. And so there were some things that were happening that caused women-led things to not be so successful. And I was watching that happen, and I thought, okay, men go to conferences and pastors get together, and they go to lunch and they play golf and they do things, but they talk, they have their community and they're building into each other. Well, that wasn't happening so much. And I'm talking more than 20 years ago, by the way. That wasn't happening so much in that time frame. So with women, and they weren't, mainly some because of the male-female thing and the barrier between that, and some of it is just beliefs in what men and women can do. So I thought, okay, my business skills, I can teach that. I know, how to do that. And so I believe that the Lord spoke to me and said, you're going to be the one that does that. And so it started out within my church. Other people started hearing, started going to their churches. At some point, I heard the Lord say, you're going to step out and you're going to do this as your own nonprofit. In 2003, did that and worked with women within the church and church leadership for about 5 years. Then 2 women came to me and said, you've started this nonprofit. I know you're helping women within the church. Do you think you can help us start our own nonprofit? And at that point, it was sort of like, well, what does that look like? That's an umbrella organization. I have no idea how to do that, but the Lord provided. And that in 2008, we started the nonprofit side of it, helping women. It was called the Alliance Partnership. So we had Proven Way Ministries, which was actually the original name of the nonprofit. So it was Proven Way Ministries was the umbrella, and the Alliance Partnership was a program of that. Well, we realized quickly that was the biggest, fastest growing part of our organization. And in 2016, we realized we sort of had the tail wagging the dog, I guess you could say, because the bigger thing was the nonprofits, the women that were trying to start nonprofits. So we changed our name in 2016 to reflect our passion, which is now called Women's Nonprofit Alliance. And our sole focus is helping startups and those led by Christian women to grow their nonprofits with best practices. We are guided by biblical principles, but we are primarily a best practice focused organization. We talk about exciting things like compliancy and financial integrity and all the things that the business side of things that a lot of women in the nonprofit world don't really like to do. They have the passion and they want to get out there and serve. We do the behind the scenes. We are back office support for frontline women, and that's where we are today.
So Terri, I'm pretty sure I could just finish the show right here because I asked you to fill in a few gaps. You gave me the whole life story.
Oh,
So I
did I?
think we're complete. So let's
No.
just finish. I'm just
Sorry
messing
about
with
that.
you. BC Nation. Terri just filled in a lot there, right? And she kind of walked you through the entire journey. And, sometimes when we reflect, when we're asked a question, right? Like, hey, fill in some of the gaps, we're just like, oh man, here's all the stuff I've been through in my life. And there was good times and rough times and God times and then no God times. And Terri, I really want to go there with that. So I'm going to dig in as best I can into that 5 minute of content rich that you just gave us backstory. But before we do, take a minute. I'm messing with you. I hope you're okay with that. I'm playful. Take a minute and share something personal about you that very few people in your business life actually know.
Okay. I've really become a student of trauma and what that does to you, not only as a leader, but just in life, and the baggage that it brings in and the work that has to be done to work through that. So just through life experiences, the Lord has given me some very unique, in my opinion, experiences on dealing with people in trauma, and then dealing with some of the things, not that I grew up with such hardships and things that I know some of my friends have, but there have been things that I realize has shaped me and formed me in a way that were not having positive effects on my life. So I became very much of a student of that, of trauma in people's lives.
Sometimes it can look similar, right?
Trauma brings drama. So I thought, well, what is it that causes that? And then at one point in my life, I had a transitional house where women who were in transition, usually because of trauma or something in their life, came and lived with me. And so during that time, I really got to watch these women and listen to them and learn from them and see. And it made me more self-aware. It made me start asking some hard questions in my life, that some patterns that I would see. Theirs were pretty extreme and way worse life experiences than I'd been through. But I just have this fascination with how that affects our lives and what it does to our ability to carry out God's will for your life. And if you don't work on that, and if you don't fight that. And if you don't go into spiritual battle with that, which is what I learned from one particular dissociative identity disorder person, that it can really, I just don't believe you'll be as effective as God wants you to be until you work that out. So I don't think a lot of people know that I am such a student of trauma and the things that, and a self-awareness is such an important piece of leadership for me. I think maybe that would be the answer to that question.
Got it. Okay. So let's go back to when you were younger and God was not present in your life, and sounded like you were partying and doing that whole experience of acting out, right? I've
Right.
done it. I did 5 years, right? Retired early, did okay in business, and partied away everything, lost it all. Very prodigal son, right? Ended up in the pigsty, and then came back to my senses, so to speak. And I love in the prodigal son story, the actual translation of come back to his senses. He came back to his senses is he came back to himself, meaning his identity, that he was son of a loving father. And that's what brought him home. And I wanted to ask, how do you connect with that in your own story? You're partying, you're going through all that stuff. What was the turnaround? What was that moment or that event that really made you look up,
Mm-hmm.
maybe for the first time in a long time, and look to God with your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I grew up in a family that went to church on Sunday, but there was no relationship. And the prayers that were offered at mealtime were just more ceremonial and not, there was no, no talk of Jesus. It was more, I heard God a lot, but I didn't hear about Jesus and the relationship and that type of thing. So I would say, so it wasn't the Christian upbringing that a lot of people that are in ministry today and, that have had. So but it wasn't bad. It wasn't, it was just neutral, I would say. It's very neutral. And then, but the message that I came away with was from two very independent parents who were very much into their careers and successful in their own right, was be successful and just figure things out for yourself. So that's what I took as the message. And so I did. So in my late teens and early 20s, I tried and did most everything. And I really, fell on my face a lot, but would always get back up and go into that partying scene, and somehow still was able to climb the corporate ladder up and to be a buyer. But like I said, I crashed and burned because it was just too much to live that lifestyle and to try to work as many hours as is involved in retail work at that point. So in the meantime, my older sister, who was sort of my partner in crime as far in partying, we have some horrific stories of things that we did together. Well, she was changing. And I noticed that she wasn't telling me anything about why she was changing, but I just noticed she was softening, some things were happening. So in one of my hit bottom moments, I remember asking her, what is different about you? Why are you, having less bottom out moments than I am? And she said, well, I found something new in my life, and I, hope that you find it too, but you're just going to have to search. She didn't feel comfortable at that time telling me, because I think she felt embarrassed because she was such a partner in crime with me that she was embarrassed to tell me this is what I'm doing now. And it was going to church and having a relationship with Jesus. So
I really like the way she presented that in marketing and business. That's called a hook, right? She put a hook. Hey, I'm doing this thing. I can't tell you about it. It's working. It's helping me, but you'll have to find it on your own. And you're
yeah,
like, what's the thing?
she definitely put the hook in. And then when, part of my story that again might surprise some people, I'm very honest and transparent with it now, but don't have the opportunity to say it a lot, is that I became, was married very quickly during that time, became pregnant right away, He left because of that. There was no room in his life for a baby, and he was partying, and so was I. So I was just as in that mode as well. So I'm not blaming him, but he left, and so I'm 3 months pregnant, and was still living that lifestyle. And I remember thinking, okay, something's got to change. So my mom shows up because my older sister was the only person that knew about this. Told my mom. My mom shows up with a U-Haul. I was in Austin at the time. She was in Wichita Falls, and she says, "You're coming home with me." Well, my pride would not have let me call her or tell her this, but she knew, so she came. That was a turning point in my life. So she came and got me. It was a starting over point. So I'm in, and she had recently gotten divorced. My father and mother had gotten divorced, and that was a real traumatic thing for me. And she's not doing well herself. She's involved. She's turned towards alcohol, and it's deep depression. But still, she came and got me. So we were together, trying to, just do the best we could. I'm 3 months pregnant, and she's has her own issues to deal with. And my sister, who's still in Austin, sends me a gospel tract in the mail. And that was her way of telling me, she gave me the hook. Now she's giving me the meat. So she sends me the tract, and I read it, and I do everything it asks, tells you to do. I repeated the prayer. I meant it. I felt this weight go off, and I accepted Christ. I was 25 in that moment in the apartment, and it was very real. And that was, again, part of that turning point in my life.
Mm. Thank you, sister, and thank you, mama. Mm-hmm. Right? The love of family that interrupts our pride, interrupts our ego, steps in, leans into the uncomfortable sometimes. And I see this in a lot of the work I do in my family relationship coaching. So many family members are not willing to lean into the uncomfortable parts of their relationship with people they love. When they see them hurting, when they see them suffering, they see they don't know how to get out of it. They don't want to bring it up because they don't want to offend them, or they don't want to make the little bit of a relationship they have with them worse. And I really just acknowledge your mom and your sister for the way they did that, even with their own struggles. They didn't have it all figured out yet. This is such a powerful, powerful thing, because so many times we think we can't help someone else until we have our own life or mess cleaned up, right? But here's your mom with a life that wasn't really working, it sounds like, but saying, hey, what can I do with the little I have for my daughter who I love, who's, in a place of confusion, suffering. She's young. She doesn't know what to do. She's 3 months pregnant. She's by herself. And I just really, really appreciate that, that part of the story. And I want to bring that out for you, BC Nation. And I ask you, as you're listening right now, who in your life, in your family or extended family, is suffering right now? There's at least one person. You know them. Who are they? And what could be one small little action that you take to interrupt their suffering, to lean into that uncomfortable place of not minding your own business, but loving them? So write down their name and write down one little action right now that you could take this week to really just love them in a new way, in a real way. Terri, thank you for letting me go there. And thank you for bringing that part of your story up. My job here as, a host is to kind of excavate through your story and pull out the gold and mine through it. So thank you for that. I want to go back to God, because we really spoke about how your family showed up for you. How did God show up for you, right? You say the prayer, you accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior. You're 25 years old. What changed? What changed in your life after that moment specifically? Give me one or two things.
There were so many. One was my mom coming, because that was again, she was in her own mess. So that was a miracle in itself. The other thing was, so there were things that happened before I accepted Christ. I could tell God was working in my life. And then there was things that happened as a direct result of me turning over my life. So just some things leading up to it was the fact that I'm on my own. I probably wouldn't have had the baby. Travis, who's my oldest son right now, I would have not made that choice to have Travis under those circumstances. That would have been my nature at that point in my life. I didn't really see anything wrong with abortion. And God already he stepped in and changed my heart before to where that became not an option for me. So I saw that happen prior to that. When I received Christ, I had to start back over in my job, working back on a retail floor after, again, rising up to being a buyer in this world. And now because I'm pregnant and I'm a single woman, and this is, the early 80s, I had to start back on, the floor and just salesperson. And then the way God brought people into my life to move me up very quickly, provision just kept coming. I had not a penny to my name, and neither did my mother, by the way, just because of what was happening in her life. Just provision and favor. And then I got moved to another city and took on a job in cable advertising, which I had no background in, but the doors opened for that. That put me on the bottom floor of something new. That's back when there was no advertisement on, like MTV and ESPN and
Got it.
There was no local advertising on those cable channels back then. I was part of the company that first started that and putting local advertisements. So we produced and sold local commercials. Got into that position, and my career took off from there, just by meeting some people in my life that God, conveniently let me meet, that saw some potential and then it just started going up. There was a lot of choices that I had to make, being a single mom and being a selfish person that I was at the time, and a very fleshly person at the time, that I just started thinking differently. My mind was started being transformed because I was asking for it. I thought, I can't do this. I don't have the skills to do this as a single mom, getting some job opportunities now. My career's going up. I need my mind transformed because I'm a selfish person, and I've been doing all this stuff out of hurt. And I realized that because I was starting to see that. And God just transformed my mind. He started putting things in my mind to change it, to make me think towards different things, healthy, started making healthier decisions. And
Yeah.
it's amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So BC Nation, wherever you are in your spiritual journey right now, I think, Terri's inspiring us. Wherever you are, it's okay. That's the first part. It's okay. You are unique. Your situation's not. We all have the same struggles. Maybe you're in very similar struggles to Terri right now in your life. Maybe you're a woman listening to the show and you're single. The man left, the father of your baby left, and you're trying to figure this out on your own, and you're wrestling with that choice. Do I keep my baby, or do I go back to my life, right? And go back to the easiness and the comfort of that, and get rid of this baby. Like, that's a real life-changing decision. And I've had many guests on the show that have had abortions and have lived with regrets of that abortion for years and years and years, like 20, 30 years. And it just impacted like every part of their life in a negative way. So if that's you right now, really look to people around you, good Christian people, role models older than you, and just ask them advice on that. I want to keep my baby, for example. How do I do it? I have no one. I have no help. Where do I go? These are good questions. People want to help. So I just want to put that there, Terri. Terri, let's fast forward real quick, and then we got to wrap up. In your nonprofit today, do you get to help women right now that to start their own nonprofits that are in similar situations that you were in back then?
We do. We have over 40 smaller nonprofits underneath our umbrella that we work with, and they're all doing amazing and wonderful things, from working with sex trafficking and homeless and championing foster children and just all different kinds of things. So there are women, and usually you're starting a nonprofit out of it's a life experience, right? Out of usually something that's happened in your life that you're working through and that you want to help others work through. So a lot of women are, and there's been a lot of there's been a lot of other things in my life that I worked through as well. So these women that are starting these nonprofits, I do get to talk to them about some of their struggles and some of the things I've been through. And that's amazing in itself. And then to watch them, do the work that God's calling them to do, but have the support they need, because that's what they're missing. They're missing that support piece of, how do I do a budget? How do I fundraise? How do I manage my time? I just never was taught that. So we're basically mentors. We're basically ministry mentors who come and say, let me show you how, let me teach you how to do this. Let me do some of the back office support for you to free you up to do what God's calling you to do. And yeah, I think I'm blessed to be able to not only help these women, but to get to know them and hear their stories and share mine with them.
That's really great. We are speaking with Terri Burnett. She is the founder and executive director of Women's Nonprofit Alliance. You can find them at womensnpa.org. And Terri, welcome to my favorite part of the show. Welcome to the confession round. I'm going to ask you 10 quick fire questions. You'll have about 3 seconds to answer each. Don't overthink it. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I love how your eyes just went big when you heard the confession round. Okay, what's your favorite thing about God?
Gosh, quick, right? He speaks. He speaks. I listen. He's real and he's alive today, and he's speaking to me now, and I'm listening.
What's your least favorite thing about God?
Timing. He doesn't always work when I want him to work.
He's not a genie in the sky. Darn it. What are you most afraid of?
I've had to really come to grips with that lately, being alone.
Yeah, I get that. A lot of people through this pandemic, for sure. I believe we're all struggling with something at any given moment of our life. What are you personally struggling with right now, or professionally struggling with right now, other than loneliness?
Struggling with right now. I think just being mentally healthy as I can be. I'm struggling with some things I've had to work through in my past, and now it's been challenging, especially with last year on the mental health front. But I know I can't be the leader to others that I need to be if I'm not mentally healthy. So it is a daily struggle. It's a daily renewing of your mind. So I think that's probably what I'm struggling with right now.
Got it. What did you spend way too much time doing this past year?
Sitting in doctor's offices.
Got it.
I had a year of health related crisis things, and just had to go in doctor's offices to get back up on, ended up in a lawsuit. So spent a lot of time in doctor's offices for a personal injury thing.
Yeah, I got it. What secret fear do you have about people?
Oh, fear about people.
How you relate to them, how they relate to you. What secret fear do you have?
Yeah, I'm not really a fearful person, especially, and people, I know there's something out there, but I guess transparency. I'm going to say trust. I'm going to go with trust. trust has been broken in my life a lot. And so it's as I, try to give people the benefit and trust them. And I think I do a much better job now, but yeah, that would probably be.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
We had to dig for that one a little bit, right? Yeah. What do you wish you had learned sooner about God?
That he is in the details and that he's in the little things, that nothing's too small for him to ask to go through. There have been a lot of times when I would ask him for things or told him and would have been further ahead if I'd have realized he cares about the daily things in my life.
Yeah, he really does. He wants to do life with us, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
What's a new habit you want to create in your life?
Well, I'd have to say the general answer right now, eating better. And our general health, in general, in general, as far as this, are you looking for spiritual habits or are you looking for anything?
Nah. What's a bad habit you want to break?
Oh, I don't have any bad habits. Spending more time reading in God's word and less time winding down in front of the TV at night.
That sounds like a bad habit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pick 3 words to describe who you are now.
Confident, self-aware, and transparent.
Got it. Pick 3 words to describe who you were before you turned your life over to Christ.
Arrogant, emotionally unstable, and selfish.
Got it. And Terri, if you could come back to life after you died, look your friends and family, your sons in the eye, and give them only one piece of advice about everything, what would you say to them?
Listen to God. Just keep praying that you have eyes to see and ears to hear, because he is trying to show you something daily. It's more than just reading words from a book. He is alive and he is well, and he is in this world today and he's in you. So he's telling you and he's talking to you every day. We're just not listening if we're not hearing him. If we don't get revelations from God, it's not him, it's you. So listen.
Any final wisdom? What's the one thing you want my listener to know about having that relationship with God and hearing him versus not?
Never give up trying. I had to learn to listen to him, and there were principles I put in my life to get better at listening to him. I think that a lot of my close friends would say that is the one thing they would say is she hears from God. And I think that that's just because I believe that he does talk, and I believe every word that he says. And so, yeah.
Got it. What's the best way for BC Nation to get in touch with you if they so choose?
Our website, like you've mentioned, is womensnonprofitalliance.org. You can email me directly at terri@womensnpa.org. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from anyone that, especially if you want to start a nonprofit or grow your own nonprofit. If you already have one, we'd love to help you and be there and be your back office support.
And they could be anywhere in the world, correct?
Correct. Yes. Most of our 40-something nonprofits are in the U.S. They are doing work in other areas of the world. But actually, you do have to be a U.S. citizen. Let me rephrase that. Because of rules and governing rules in other countries with their nonprofits that we aren't familiar with. So it is through, you have to be a U.S. citizen in this state, in this country, but you can be doing work in any part of the world.
Got it. So but they can be located in anywhere in the United States, right? So someone in
Correct.
Pennsylvania, you could help them with their nonprofit, or New York.
Correct. Yeah, and we are doing that. We've got nonprofits in a lot of states.
Awesome. All right, BC Nation, if you are a women nonprofit owner, director, and you want a little back office help because you're pulling your hair out because you're just doing it all and you can't grow it by yourself that way. It's not scalable, and you want the help and you want to learn how to build a team underneath you and do it the right way and really scale what God has put on your heart. Why not reach out to Terri Burnett? You can find her at womensnpa.org. Terri, thank you for being on Broken Catholic. I wish you God's love, peace, and joy in your life.
Thanks, Joseph. Same to you.